All right, today we're diving into this incredible story. It's about a nation on the brink of total collapse, and how one leader, just one person, managed to turn it all around. I mean, imagine a country so far gone, it's basically staring at its own destruction. But then, a young king makes a single choice that changes everything. We're talking about the story of Josiah.
So, to really get the weight of this story, you gotta understand just how bad things were in the kingdom of Judah. We're talking about a nation that was just spiraling. The people had completely walked away from their core beliefs. Idol worship was everywhere, and their main temple, the very heart of their culture, was literally falling apart from neglect. It was like a whole society had lost its compass. And the craziest part? Nobody seemed to care.
But then, right in the middle of all this decay, a new king comes along. And this guy, he sees things differently. So the first chapter of this whole turnaround story, it all starts with one single massive decision that he makes.
And here it is, Josiah's big move. While everyone else was just shrugging their shoulders at the ruin, he stands up and says, no, the house of God must be repaired. And you have to understand this was way more than just a construction project, right? It was a huge public statement. It was a sign that his heart was turning back towards God, that he wanted to fix what was broken.
And this simple act of just fixing things, it gives us our very first big takeaway. You see, real, meaningful change, it doesn't always start with some huge, grand vision. A lot of the time, it starts with one practical first step. Josiah's choice to fix the temple wasn't just about bricks and wood. That one action literally set the stage for a massive breakthrough.
Okay, so let's see where this goes, because that one decision, it led to a discovery that absolutely no one saw coming. We're talking about a moment that was about to shape the entire kingdom to its core.
So picture this, they're in the middle of these temple repairs, dust everywhere, and the workers find something incredible. Buried, forgotten for who knows how long, was the book of God's law. This wasn't just some old scroll, this was the foundational text for their entire nation. Yeah, it was a priceless artifact for sure, but it was so much more than that. It was a direct message from God that they had completely lost. And just like that, it's back.
So they bring the book to King Josiah, and as they start reading it out loud, wow, the words must have hit him like a ton of bricks. For the very first time, he could see, crystal clear, just how far his people had strayed and the kind of judgment they were facing because of it. And his reaction? It wasn't to get defensive or make excuses, no, it was just pure, genuine grief. Tearing his clothes, that was the outward sign of a heart that was absolutely breaking on the inside.
And you know what? God's response to that kind of humility was immediate. He sends a message through a prophet, and it basically confirms just how powerful Josiah's repentance was. The message was clear. Because your heart was humble, because you were open to the truth, mercy is coming. That disaster that was on its way, it's going to be delayed. It won't happen in your lifetime.
And this brings us to our second huge lesson. Think about it. When we're faced with an uncomfortable truth, what's our first instinct? Usually, it's to get defensive, right? To push back. Well, Josiah did the exact opposite. He owned it. He owned the failure, he humbled himself, and he turned back to God. It just goes to show you that a truly repentant heart is something God never turns away.
But, this story doesn't just stop with Josiah's personal aha moment. A real transformation, a true one, never just stays private. So let's look at what he did next to make sure this truth he'd rediscovered reached everybody.
See, he knew that for any real change to last, it had to be public. It had to be shared. So he takes these three very specific steps. First, he gathers all the people together, and I mean everyone, from the most important person to the least. The message was for all of them. Second, he has the entire book read out loud, so every single person could hear the exact same truth that had changed him. And third, he leads from the front. He makes a public, binding promise, a covenant, to follow these words with everything he's got.
And right here, we get our third big insight. This is a masterclass in leadership, really. Josiah got it. A private belief system, that doesn't change a culture. If you want lasting change in a society, you need public commitment and a shared vision. He literally took his personal conviction and turned it into a national movement. Okay, so this is where the rubber meets the road, where belief turns into action. A public promise is great, but Josiah knew talk is cheap. It means nothing if you don't back it up. So what came next was a massive, decisive, nationwide reform.
He didn't just talk about change, he was the change. He didn't mess around. He launched this systematic cleanup across the entire country, just destroying everything that went against God's law. He tore down the idols, he demolished the altars, all the stuff that had been leading people down the wrong path for generations. It was a physical cleansing that was all about a deeper spiritual renewal.
Now, I know that word idol. It can sound a little old-fashioned, right? But the idea behind it is totally timeless. So what even is an idol, really? Well, it's pretty simple. It's anything that we let take the #1 spot in our lives, the spot that's meant for God.
So what does that look like for us today? Well, our modern idols might not be made of stone. They could be the constant chase for more money. It could be our own pride, thinking we don't need anyone's help. It could even be those bad habits that we just can't seem to shake. Really, it's any good thing that we turn into an ultimate thing. It's whatever we put at the very center of our lives and depend on more than God.
And this leads us straight to our fourth and final lesson. True spiritual renewal, it requires getting serious about the things that mess with our core values. Josiah was absolutely ruthless with the idols in his country because he knew you just can't serve two masters. You can't have it both ways. Real change means you have to choose. All right, so let's pull all these threads together. Because this isn't just some dusty old story, right? It is packed with powerful, timeless lessons that speak right into our lives today. So, what are the 4 big takeaways from Josiah's story that we can use? Number 1, start change with a simple, practical step. Don't just sit around waiting for some grand inspiration. Number 2, when you're hit with a hard truth, meet it with humility, not with walls up. Number 3, your personal beliefs have to become public commitments if you want to see real change in the world around you. And number 4, get tough. Be ruthless in getting rid of the things in your life that are holding you back.
When you boil it all down, the entire story comes back to this one incredibly powerful idea. The deep, genuine change that happened inside one person's heart was enough to change the entire future of a nation. It just shows you the insane amount of impact that one transformed person can have.
And that leaves us with one final, pretty challenging thought. This story proves, without a doubt, that one person, someone just like Josiah, can literally change the direction of a whole generation. So the question isn't just a historical one. The real question is, what about you?